Hey guys, so this video is going to be a comprehensive problem over 4 AGI deduction examples. So to make sure I have plenty of room to write out the work for the problem, I have the text of the practice problem included on the Canvas page for this video link, so that way you guys can reference it while I work through the problems. So as I work through the problem and I get ready to work each piece, I'll read the fact pattern out loud and then talk about how we would go about picking out the pieces we need to determine what we need for the problem. So to introduce the problem, our beginning fact pattern says that Jeremy and Alyssa Johnson have been married for 5 years and do not have any children. Jeremy was married previously and has 1 child from the prior marriage. He is self-employed and operates his own computer repair store. For the first 2 months of this year, Alyssa worked for Office Depot as an employee. In March, Alyssa accepted a new job with Super Toys, Inc., where she worked for the remainder of the year. This year, the Johnsons received $255,000 of gross income. Determine the Johnsons' AGI for 2025 given the following information. And then it lists items A through H that we want to look at. So since we are trying to figure out what AGI is, if we think back to chapter 4, where we introduce the individual income tax formula, AGI is calculated as gross income minus all of our 4 AGI deductions. So I'm gonna write that out here so we have it. So gross income minus 4 AGI deductions equals AGI. And so AGI is the number we're trying to get to. So let's get our starting point. This is going to be the easy number. Let's find our gross income. So in the fact pattern, it tells us that the Johnsons received $255,000 of gross income. So we will make a note of that right here. Here, I'll do it as gross income equals $255,000. Now we're going to go through all of the pieces in letters A through H to determine which of those items will help us get to the Johnson's AGI. So letter A. This one says expenses associated with Jeremy's store include $40,000 in salary and employment taxes to employees, $45,000 of supplies, and $18,000 in rent and other administrative expenses. So whenever we look at this, the amount that can be deducted for AGI here is $103,000. And this $103,000 is made up of the $40,000 in salary and employment taxes to the employees, $45,000 of supplies, and $18,000 in rent. And the reason why these are able to be deducted for AGI is because those items, so the salary, supplies, and rent, those are considered ordinary and necessary business expenses. So we would most likely see those on the Schedule C. So here off to the side, so ordinary necessary business expenses. All right, let's look at letter B. So B says, as a salesperson, Alyssa incurred $2,000 in travel expenses related to her employment that were not reimbursed by her employer. So whenever we consider this piece of information, the amount that we can deduct is 0. And the reason why is because unreimbursed employee business expenses are not deductible. So unreimbursed, I'll put EE for employee, unreimbursed employee business expenses are not deductible. All right, let's take a look at letter C. The Johnsons own a piece of raw land held as an investment. They paid $500 of real property taxes on the property, and they incurred $200 of expenses and travel costs to see the property and to evaluate other similar potential investment properties. So whenever we consider this fact, the amount that we can deduct for AGI is 0. And the reason why is because, first, the $500 of real property taxes that were paid, those taxes are deductible from AGI, not for AGI. The second part of that fact pattern, the $200 of expenses in travel costs, those are considered investment expenses, and investment expenses are not deductible. So, tax is from AGI, and then investment expense not. Okay, let's look at letter D. So letter D says the Johnsons own a rental home. They incurred $8,500 of expenses associated with the property. So the amount that can be deducted for AGI here is the full $8,500. And the reason why is because those rental expenses are deductible for AGI, even though they are technically investment or production of income expenses. We go to letter E. Letter E says, Jeremy paid $4,500 for health insurance coverage for himself, not through an exchange. And then Alyssa was covered by health plans provided by her employer. But Jeremy is not eligible for the plan until next year. So for letter E, the amount that can be considered for AGI deductions is the $4,500 that Jeremy spent on health insurance. And the reason why Jeremy is allowed to deduct all of the costs of his health insurance is because he is not eligible for Super Toys. So his wife Alyssa works at Super Toys. Jeremy is not eligible for Super Toys' health plan until the next year. Okay. Then letter F. F says Jeremy paid $2,500 in self-employment taxes. And then it also tells us that $1,250 represents the employer portion of the self-employment taxes. So here, the amount that can be deducted for AGI is $1,250. And the reason why is because the employer portion of self-employment taxes are allowed as a 4 AGI deduction. So here I'm gonna so that way you guys can track my notes. So this is the employer, I'll abbreviate that as ER, the employer portion of self-employment taxes. And I'll abbreviate self-employment as SE. So employer portion of self-employment tax. Letter G. G says that Jeremy paid $5,000 in alimony and $3,000 in child support from his prior marriage. And the divorce decree was executed in 2018. So a couple of important things to note. Since the divorce decree was executed in 2018, we will have a number to put here for a 4 AGI deduction. If that divorce decree was executed in 2019 or later, that number will automatically be 0. So just keep that in mind. Also, payments that are considered alimony do not include child support payments. So that is helpful in determining what can be deducted for AGI. So for letter G, the amount that can be deducted is $5,000. And that is because that $5,000 was specifically labeled as alimony. Then our last one, letter H. The Johnsons donated $2,000 to their favorite charity. So here for letter H, the amount that we can deduct for AGI is 0. And the reason why is because charitable contributions are from AGI deductions. Specifically, they would fall under the itemized deductions category. So they are not for AGI deductions. So these are from AGI deductions. So then, if we go through and then start at our gross income and subtract all of our numbers that we have here, our AGI should equal $132,750.